His wife's birthday was always on the 14th of February, coincidentally. Tunde just wanted to make his wife's birthday and Valentine's Day special. A grand surprise, something unforgettable. So he found the perfect vendor on Instagram, Beam's Luxury Surprises. The reviews were excellent. The customer service was smooth. And within minutes, his order was confirmed. 28 luxury gifts for her 28th birthday. Everything was perfect until she wore the shoes. Have you stopped to wonder how Instagram vendors sell out a full 40-feet container of goods in weeks? Let's find out. Tunde sat on the couch, scrolling through his Instagram feed. His timeline was filled with Valentine's Day surprises, beautifully decorated rooms, expensive gifts, wives crying tears of joy as they unwrapped their presents. He smiled to himself. This year, he had to do something special for Amaka. Valentine's Day was not just any other day to them. It was also her birthday. Every year, he made sure to surprise her with something memorable. But this time, he wanted to outdo himself. As he kept scrolling, something caught his eyes. Beam's Luxury Surprises. The page was filled with extravagant surprise setup. Gift boxes, luxury items, rose petals and candles beautifully arranged. The review was excellent. And the best part, they were in the same city. Without wasting time, he clicked the message button and sent a DM. Hi, I would love to book a surprise for my wife's birthday on February 14th. I need 28 gifts to celebrate her 28th birthday. Good evening, sir. Wow, that's amazing. We can definitely handle that. What kind of gifts do you have in mind? Tunde said, I want the best. I want the best cake, an iPhone 14 Pro Max, an iPad, an Apple Watch, luxurious raw donor wigs, designer handbags, and of course, a designer shoe. Beam's Luxury Surprises replied, There's a perfect combination, sir. You have great taste. The total cost is 4.5 million. Once payment is made, we will handle everything. Tunde didn't hesitate. He wanted the best for Amaka. Within minutes, he made the transfer. The payment was received. Your surprise will be delivered and set up on the 14th. Thank you for trusting us, they replied. Tunde smiled, completely unaware that he had just invited darkness into his home. On the morning of February 14th, Tunde made sure Amaka went out with her best friend, so she wouldn't be home while the surprises were being arranged. At exactly 1 p.m., a van pulled up outside their house. The staffs from Beam's Luxury Surprises stepped out, carrying beautifully arranged boxes and decorative items. They walked quickly, transforming the living room into a dreamland. Roses, candles, balloons, and a huge cake with "Happy Birthday, my love" written on it. The 28 presents were neatly arranged on the center table. The last item, the designer shoe, sat beautifully in a gold-colored box. At 6 p.m., everything was set. At 6:30 p.m., Amaka walked into the house. She froze, her eyes widening in shock as she took in the breathtaking sight. Tunde, what is all this? Happy birthday, my love, he said, wrapping his arms around her. Tears welled up in her eyes. I can't believe this. This is the best birthday and Valentine's Day ever. Wait till you see your presents, he whispered. She laughed and ran towards the table, eagerly unwrapping each gift. First the iPhone, then the iPad, the Apple Watch, the wigs, and the designer bags. Finally, she got to the last gift. Tunde watched as she opened the golden box. Inside, a pair of elegant silver designer shoes sparkled under the light. She giggled in surprise. These are so beautiful. Tunde smiled. Try them on. Amaka slipped her feet into the shoes and stood up, admiring herself. She catwalked around the living room laughing. How do I look? Like a queen, Tunde said proudly. She smiled, but then her face changed. She frowned and shook her feet slightly. What's wrong? Tunde asked. I don't know. My legs feel a little itchy. Maybe it's just sweat, she said, and continued admiring her reflection in the mirror. Little did they know this was just the beginning. That night, as they lay in bed, Amaka tossed and turned. Her legs itched terribly. She groaned and sat up, scratching them. Are you okay? Tunde asked sleepily. My legs, they are itching like crazy. Tunde switched on the side lamp. Let me see. Amaka lifted the blanket, revealing her legs. Tunde's stomach dropped. Her legs were swollen. Red patches covered her skin. Tunde frowned. Maybe you had an allergic reaction to the shoes. I've never had a reaction to shoes before, Amaka whispered. Let me get some balm. He rubbed the balm on her skin, hoping it would help. But deep inside, something was wrong. By morning, Amaka's legs had doubled in size. The swelling was worse. Her skin was hot to the touch. And then it happened. Tiny holes started appearing on her legs. And from the holes, something crawled out. Maggots. Tunde screamed. Amaka let out a cold, curdling cry. Maggots wriggled out of her swollen flesh, falling onto the floor. A rotten stench filled the room. Tunde grabbed his phone. We need to get to the hospital now. The doctors ran tests. They tried everything, but no one could explain what was happening. One of the doctors shook his head. This is beyond medicine. Tunde felt cold. What do you mean? The doctor hesitated. There is no scientific explanation for this. It's almost as if something supernatural is happening. Amaka sobbed, gripping Tunde's hand. Please, do something, Tunde. Just then, a voice spoke from behind them. Oga, wetin do madam leg? Tunde turned. It was the hospital gate man. Tunde was desperate. He explained everything to the gate man. The gate man quietly listened. Then in a low voice he said, if you really want help, you need to go to a village in this town. There is an old herbalist there. He is the only one who can save her. Tunde's heart pounded. He didn't believe in such things, but at this point he had no choice. They had to go, and time was running out. Tunde didn't waste time. He lifted Amaka into the car, ignoring the horrified stares from people around them in the hospital. Her legs were worse. The maggot kept crawling out, dropping onto the floor of the car. The smell was unbearable, and Amaka sobbed in pain. The hospital gate man, an old man called Baba Eze, sat in the front seat directing them. Oga, drive straight. Now one small road we go enter soon. Tunde was sweating. He had never done something like this before, taking his wife to a native healer. If someone had told him a week ago that he would be doing this, he would have laughed. But now, there was no time for doubt. The road soon turned from smooth tar to a rough, dusty path. It was deep inside the bush. Tunde's heart pounded harder. Baba, are you sure we are safe? He asked. Baba Eze didn't answer. He just pointed ahead. Now there. Tunde followed his finger and saw a small hut at the end of the road. It looked abandoned, with dry leaves scattered everywhere. But before they could get closer, Amaka suddenly screamed. Her body jerked violently. More holes were opening on her legs. Tunde, I feel something is moving inside me, she cried. Tunde nearly lost control of the car. He stepped on the gas, racing towards the hut. As soon as they arrived, Baba Eze jumped out and banged on the wooden door. Baba Okonkwo, open, abeg, na emergency. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then slowly, the door opened. A very old man bent with age stepped out. His eyes were deep and dark. He looked at Amaka in the car and sighed. You brought her late, oh. Tunde froze. What do you mean late? The old man didn't answer. Instead, he stepped inside. Bring her. The small hut smelled of burning herbs and damp earth. Tunde sat on the wooden bench, holding Amaka's cold hand. Her swollen legs had turned black. Maggots were still crawling out of them. The old herbalist, Papa Okonkwo, sat across from them, his piercing eyes scanning Amaka's body. He shook his head and exhaled sharply. He asked, what happened to her? Tunde explained everything. The surprise, the vendor, and the swollen legs. This is not an ordinary sickness, Baba Okonkwo said, his voice low and grave. You are running out of time. Tunde's hand trembled. What is happening to her, Papa? Baba Okonkwo leaned forward. Have you ever wondered how Instagram vendors sell out a 40-foot container of goods in weeks? Then type sold out like magic? Tunde's breath caught in his throat. They use the pain of some of their online buyers to fuel the market. He continued. They must sacrifice someone to keep their business thriving. Tunde stared in disbelief. You mean my wife was a sacrifice? Baba Okonkwo nodded. Yes, she was. You must find the vendor, he said urgently, and you must do it fast. The herbalist gave her a green liquid to drink, saying it would sustain her for a while. Tunde didn't waste time. He used the location tag on the vendor's Instagram page to track their supposed office address. His heart pounded as he drove. But when he got there was nothing. The office didn't exist. It was just an empty plot of land. Panic gripped him. Amaka was dying. He raced back to the hospital, hoping for a miracle. But 2 hours later, Amaka was gone. Tunde screamed. His world crumbled. The surprise he planned for his wife had killed her. Months passed, but Tunde couldn't move on. He became obsessed with finding the vendor, the face behind Bim's luxury surprises. His grief turned inside him like a burning fire. One night, an idea struck him. He would lure them out. He contacted Bim's luxury surprises again. With a fake cheerful tone and a new Instagram account, he sent them a direct message. Then he placed another order. This time, he wanted to pick up himself, but they refused. Tunde insisted, but still they declined. So he raised the stakes. He placed an order worth 4 million naira, and that got their attention. Immediately, they sent him an address. Tunde wasted no time. He contacted the police and a major television station. He wanted the world to see who was behind this wicked act. The address led him to a small, neat bungalow. The exterior was flawless, a perfect disguise. Outside, beautifully wrapped packages were arranged in rows. The owner, a chubby woman in her late 30s, stood at the front door, smiling warmly. She had no idea what was coming. Tunde stepped forward. Good afternoon, sir, she greeted. You must be our new customer. Tunde held his fist. He took a deep breath, then spoke loudly and clearly. "Why did you kill my wife with the shoes you added to my order?" The woman's smile froze. Her expression flickered between shock and confusion. "I don't understand. What are you talking about, sir?" Before she could finish, the police stepped out from their hiding place. TV cameras zoomed in. The woman staggered back. Her hands shook. Her lips trembled. Then she ran. The officers tackled her before she could escape. Tunde stood over her, his rage boiling. "Tell them the truth," he hissed. "Why did you kill my wife?" The woman broke down. Under interrogation at the station, she confessed. "You see, at the beginning of every peak sales season, like Valentine's Day, Easter, Christmas, even New Year, we perform a ritual and a ballot system is being used. Based on the number of orders we have received, a random customer will be chosen as the sacrificial lamb. Their pain, suffering, and death would ensure more sales, more power, more money." The police interrogated the vendor for weeks, but she refused to say more. She only kept repeating, "I am just one of many." She wasn't alone. Many online vendors did the same thing, obviously. But before they could act, something terrible happened. The vendor, Beam's Luxury Surprises, was found dead in her cell. Her throat was slit. It was clear. Some people wanted her silence. When the news broke, social media exploded. People who had lost loved ones to strange illnesses after online purchases began speaking up. Soon, other vendors were exposed. And that was how the dark market of online sacrifices was being uncovered. Let's really be careful out there.